Welcome to the Art of Lifting podcast. And today we have got the women's preview show for this year's Sheffield. I'm joined by Mani and Millie. I think we're going to start with the women's. Plan is just going to be to basically just talk through each lifter. And then at the end, we're going to give our predictions for the podium. I was thinking we start lightest weight class first. What do you guys think?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. So lightest lifter on the women's side is Tiffany Chapon. Her best total in comp so far is 433. The world record is 433.5, which was broken at Junior Worlds, I believe, by Jessica Espinal. So Tiffany is the only under 47 here. So she's not got any direct competition.
Right.
Would one of you like to start on what you maybe think each of her lifts could potentially be, or anything you've seen in her training?
You can go first, Millie. If you like.
So, yeah, I do follow her training, and I definitely think she will increase her squat record. Squats have been looking really strong. I don't think we'll see like 170, but anywhere between like 165, 170, I think she's got the potential. But I know that previously she doesn't always like hit her third attempt, so it will just be depending on like the calls that the French team make on the day, or whoever's handling her, I guess. And then, yeah, I think her bench as well has also looked really strong. I've not seen much of her deadlift, to be honest, and I think that's probably like her least consistent lift. Like, I think a lot of times she gets it to the top and like grip issues because she's obviously such a lightweight female. I think she can't always hold the weight at the top. So yeah, but I definitely think she can break the record on the day for the total as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I saw her most recent training reel. She hit 437.5 in training. So just a few kilos above the record. She only hit a 162, is it 162 squat that day? And it looked quite hard, to be fair. So I think attempt selection might come into play. And I think whether or not she breaks the record will actually probably come down to how aggressive she is with her squats. And if she's only got, let's say, 162 on the day, but she wants that record, is she going to load 166? Just to chip the record where it currently is and potentially miss it. Bench, the record is 100 at the moment, and she's hit more than that in comp before. I think she'll probably just chip the record, chip 100. And then, like you said, with deadlifts, her deadlifts, to be fair, have been looking really good in training. I think she pulled 170 in this training day, which for her is quite a big pull. Yeah, she pulled 170. It looked quite comfortable. So again, will she be able to hold on to a little bit more if she feels good for more? But I do think she will at least chip the record because I think she wants to prove a point. This is the first time anyone's broken her record since she kind of came on the scene. So I think she'll want to prove a point there.
Yeah. As for me, I think she's going to end up chipping her squat record. I know that 162 in training was pretty tough, but I'd imagine with a bit of a taper on the day with the Sheffield hype in the crowd, she'd be able to get 166. Bench, her current record is 100, but I think she's hit 101.5. Was it French nationals?
I think it might have been girl power even.
Girl power, yeah. So she'll probably chip that as well if she's looking good for more. Then don't see why not. And then juicy free plate deadlift and a collar 175. So that would put her around 443. So put her above the record again. So that's if she has a good day. But again, with the French and their attempt selection, I don't know how well she'll be able to execute. Hopefully she executes well. But she's bottom of my table and hit rate, so we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
No, I agree with it. It's good that you said 443 because I've basically predicted everyone as if they had like a 9 for 9 day, like absolute best case scenario. Yeah. And I put 444. So we're in a kilo of each other there. Like I reckon she'll probably chip the bench on her second and then load up a bit more just to see if it's there. Yeah. But yeah, we've got similar numbers there, which is quite interesting.
Yeah.
Next up, under 52s, the only under 52 in the competition, we've got Evie. Either of you want to start on this one?
Yeah, I can go first with Evie. So I know there's been a lot of talk about her hitting a 500 kilo total, or at least for myself, that is. And I'd actually back her for it because she's pretty consistent and she executes so well every single comp pretty much across all three lifts. And I don't know, I'm sure you've both seen her 170. Was it 170 squat that she did in training? And it looked
so
like piece of piss. So I would not be shocked if she chipped the squat record 176. Bench, I'd say she can she should be able to bench 110. And deadlift, this is where it gets interesting, guys, because she could obviously load up for 500, but I reckon it will be quite close. I think if she's able to do a little bit more than that, she could push Agatha potentially and potentially win it. Yeah, man, it's looking crazy. So I think she does total 500, but whether she goes above that or not is down to coaches and attempt selection and how it all comes together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I had Agatha a little bit ahead on predictions. Obviously, we'll get to that. But if Agatha does miss, like she's not been missing lifts as often lately, like she has been more consistent as a lifter. But if she misses one lift, because she even takes big jumps on bench, Evie won't have to pull a Hail Mary to get that win potentially. Like she could. But yeah, my prediction for her, I think, was roughly 5:01 because I think there's no reason she shouldn't go for the squat record this time. I remember last year, I think the squat record might have been a little bit lower this time last year. And last Sheffield, she only went up to 167 and it was really easy. And I remember thinking at the time, why didn't she load 170? But yeah, I think she'll easily be 175 plus, and the record's 175.5. And her bench, she hit 110 recently, I think, didn't she, in training, and it looked really good.
Yeah.
And she's just so consistent. I would never bet against her. I think, obviously, we'll talk about podium later, but I would be shocked if she's not. She was nearly on the podium last year, wasn't she, with the 69 battle? Like, if it wasn't for the 369, she would have made podium. She wasn't far away from that.
Yeah. See, as much as I hope that, because it's weird, because she's like the 52 like queen, right? But she only has the total record at the moment because I think it got taken by the deadlift record got taken by, I forgot her name.
Canadian.
Singapore. Yeah. It's like 209 now. But I know, watching Sheffield the last 2 years, I'm not certain that she's going to load up 176. She always seems to take like a really conservative approach with squats. I'd love to see her put it on the bar, but yeah, I'm not certain she will. And I think that she'll probably fall just under 5. I'd love to see her hit 500, but I think she'll fall just under 500 to kind of like pull what she needs to kind of like secure the total for the podium.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone's not going to risk anything and just take everything a bit more conservative, it's going to be her. It'll be really interesting to see. But I think, if she just, I mean, I don't know how much longer she wants to stay in the under 52s. I think she's sat there. She's got to stay there until after World Games. But if this is her last Sheffield appearance, she's an under 52, then maybe she'll think I'll be a bit more aggressive. But I guess we'll see. Next up, we have got under 57s. We've got Jad Jacob. So she's not been posting a lot of training. Her coach did recently pass away, which was obviously really sad and really horrible. She actually posted today, and it looks like she's just been kind of possibly channeling that a little bit. And I think one thing with her, the crowd are definitely going to be behind her. Like, they're always behind the French lifters anyway, but I think this year especially, they'll be behind her. She hit a 240 deadlift back in June, and it wasn't like she's grinds off the floor. It was quick. So she hit a 240 back in June. What did she post today? She hit a 105 double that she posted today on bench. Like, her training's obviously been going well. I know before she did mention it, I think it was the first Sheffield, she struggled with the noise and she struggled with the atmosphere. I think it made her quite anxious from what she said. But obviously last year, that didn't seem to phase her. And actually both years, she's had a really good performance at Sheffield. Both times she's gone up against world champions and both times she's beaten them. So I think it looks like her training's been going really well. I think squat world record she currently holds at 188. I haven't seen any heavy squats from her really lately, I don't think. But again, she's not really been posting. She might go a bit conservative because I think she's probably going to want to load up close to that 240, because when she did girl power, she jumped from 227 on her second to 240 on her third on deadlift. And she did miss the 240. So I wonder if she wants redemption on that, and then she'll take squats a little bit easier. But then I also think from the caption of her post today, she wants to obviously go and just absolutely attack the competition. So I wouldn't be surprised if she does break the record, though. And I actually think she might break it by, what's the record currently? 519.5 is the total record at the minute. I think I put her down at roughly 528. So I think she will break it by a good margin.
That would just be mental. Like 528 for 57 is absolutely wild. I think although yeah, she hasn't been posting much, but you're right. Like when it comes down to deadlifts, like she can stick it out, and like Sheffield is like previously where she's done really well. So if the crowd are behind her, then I think she's got a good chance of pulling into a good place and having a really good day.
Yeah, I'd echo both of your thoughts there. I had her down for a 530 kilo total, and so that would be a breakdown of 190.5 kilo squat, 107.5 kilo bench, and about a 232 deadlift. I've noticed with her that she can pull big deadlifts in training, but it doesn't necessarily carry over to the platform as well. But even with that, still a huge total. It still puts her in a very good position in terms of placing. And I know she hasn't posted her squats recently, but I think being able to triple 182.5 means that she should definitely be able to load way more beyond 190. It's just a case of how conservative or how aggressive she is on the day.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the only thing I was thinking with her as well, with her deadlift, that might affect her total, because the world record is 231.5, she'll probably want to guarantee herself the record. So I'd imagine she'll load up 232. Whether she paces for that as her second and then just goes for a heavier third, but then is that going to be, because she doesn't always take very big jumps, so she might be okay with that, but that is very heavy deadlifts back to back. Or is she just going to play it conservative and go for the 232 as her third, and then that will obviously take quite a big chunk off her total potentially. But yeah, I think squat, she'll at least go for the record. The record's 188, like she'll at least go 188.5. But like you said, Manny, I wouldn't be surprised to see 190 plus.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. And with the deadlift, this is the French. These are the French we're talking about. She's gonna go for 232 on a second and then load up on a third. Come on.
I hope she does. I hope she has like the perfect day. I think she deserves it. Like she's been like, I think not winning worlds 2 years in a row, and I think what the year against Natalie where she then beat her at Sheffield. I think it was last year's worlds, wasn't it? 2023. It was down to a misload as well. She's looked a lot hungrier and like more determined as well in her training, and her lifts have gone up really well since then. And like we said, she always performs at Sheffield. I think this could be a huge total for her.
Yeah, I definitely think as well, because at Worlds, like her initial second attempt was meant to be 230 as well. So I think as long as she stayed injury free and that we should definitely see her go for the record on that second pull.
Definitely. Next up, we have got Meg Scanlon in the under 63s. There is a battle for the under 63s. We've got 3 in there. We've got Leah as well and Alba. So Meg is the current world champion. The world record total in the under 63s is 557.5. Meg's best total currently is 562.5, which I think is from the meet she did a couple of weeks ago, which was just a train through meet. She literally just did a end of block session. I'm pretty sure she did all her back offs and stuff in the back room. Like she's treated it as just a training day, and she hit 562.
Oh, wow.
The thing I'm most excited about with Meg, which I'm sure you guys will probably agree, is her bench. She benched 147 at that meet. The world record is 143.5. Her 147 at that meet was very quick. And I know she has quite an aggressive sink. She has quite a quick bench anyway. And I think the thing that's caught her out in the past has been butt lift. But I think she'll probably load up the record on her second and potentially a 150-ish bench press on her third, depending on the jumps she wants to take. With that as well, Meg is very consistent, like very, very consistent. She stays in her own lane and she just takes what she knows is there. So yeah, what have you guys got for Meg?
Personally, I had it down for a 569.5 total, 205 squat, 147 bench, and that's 147 exactly, by the way, not 0.5, and 217.5 kilo deadlift. I did notice that even though she trained through that meet, the last one she did weigh in at 64.8. So I don't know if that additional 1.8 kilos will make a difference to her final projected total. But I'd say that she is definitely one of the stronger 63s. I think she's going to put up something crazy. I think that's a conservative guess. I wouldn't be surprised if she goes over 570.
Yeah, I think I agree with like what both of you said. Like, she definitely is a lifter that just does stay in her own lane as well. And I think like that's always like really good to watch, especially when there's like lifters in a battle. I remember at Worlds that she missed her third bench. Was that on bum lift or was that on elbow depth bum lift?
It was butt lift, yeah.
Yeah. So that will be interesting. But I think, yeah, equally excited to see what she can bench, but also aware that the meat that she weighed in at a bit heavier. So But I think she could. I probably got Alba down to out total the other two, but I think Meg will put up a good fight, especially depending on it will all just depend on what she can bench on the day, I think.
Yeah, completely agree. I actually have Meg out in front of the 63s. My numbers added to 573. And I did hear her say, I can't remember what it was on, might have been a podcast, might have even been a post or something. She said she was hoping 570 to 580-ish, and she wouldn't be surprised if it was there.
Wow.
I put her down for a 205 squat, which her squat is hard to read because she is a slow squatter, but I don't think that's out of reach. It's literally only 2.5 PB. I put her down for a 150.5 bench, and then I put her down for a 217 deadlift. I think the deadlift I was a little bit more ambitious on potentially, but I think 570 and up is potentially there for her, which is huge for a 63.
Yeah. Do we know what she squatted in her last session? Because I think she tried to film it so you couldn't actually see the plates, because all I could see was those 3 reds, and I was like, okay, but what's underneath them? Is there a yellow and a white? Is there a green and a white? Like what's there? Some
I've got
tactics
no idea. But
yeah, it looks strong either way. So
yeah, I think obviously bench record she'll go for, but I think it'll be real. I'm also intrigued to see if the 63s do pay attention to each other, because I think someone like Leah would want to come out on top of the 63s as much as she would obviously want. Obviously, the higher she places in the 63s, the higher she places overall. But I think she would be quite determined to prove a point that she's back.
Yeah.
We'll move on to Alba next. I feel like Millie, you're a big fan of Alba, so do you want to take this on?
I'm just getting my stuff up, but yeah, oh my god, Alba, I definitely, I just can't quite. It's the same with Agatha. I can't quite fathom when these lifters are like even younger than I am, and they are just putting these phenomenal totals together. It's so inspiring, and it's absolutely incredible. Like especially like on the women's side as well. Like it's huge. But yeah, Alba has been looking really strong. I'd like to see a 200 squat from her. I feel like that's maybe a little bit ambitious, but like that, she is confident. Like, and I know that if she thinks it there, she'll load it. And it's the same with Meg. Like her bench is ridiculous, but it's that consistency thing again with the sink and with the elbow depth calls. It would just depend on the day. And then she has got a really strong deadlift. Like out of the 3 of them, I think she'll be pulling last. So yeah, I think she might have more of a say over the others in terms of like how the end results go.
Cool.
Mani, do you want to go next?
Yeah, so I have her down as actually the weaker of the 363s that we have, but not by much. So I've predicted her at 560.5 total. I don't know if her coaches will load up 200. I think they'll play it safe and go 197.5. Got her down for a 135 bench and a 230 deadlift. I would also say that her and Leah's deadlifts are so similar. It's hard to say who will actually end up pulling last, or who ends up with the bigger deadlift. So it literally just comes down to execution on the day. So yeah, it's interesting.
You've predicted the exact same numbers as me for Alba, literally exactly the same, because I think she squatted 190 quite a lot in training, and it's always a little bit slow, but it's confident.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think they'll risk the 200. I think they'll play it safe with the 197. She also, I know she's young, so her progression will be quick anyway, until she's got a great coaching company behind her and stuff. But I feel like she had a massive increase in her total between Open Worlds and Junior Worlds. And the thing is with Alba, she is a coach. But I believe other than that, she's essentially a full-time athlete as well. Like she's very rigid with her training, very rigid with her routine. Like everything is dialed in with her. But I think that level of progression, I don't know that she'll be able to keep up with Meg. But I think 562 or anywhere in the 560s even, I would not be surprised. I guess we'll just kind of see. But I think she'll break the record either way. I think she'll break the record. And she's still a junior. Or is it her first year in the Open potentially now? I think it might be her first year in the Open literally now.
She's still a junior. She is, in Junior Worlds in August, she was 22. So I would have thought, unless she's turned 20, but I think she's the year. She's got a year left.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
But to keep up with 2 people like Meg and Leah have been in the sport for they are legends of the sport at this point. Like to be up there with them already is crazy.
Yeah.
So next up we've got Leah. making her return to the 63s. Would one of you like to take this one? If not, I can.
I can go. So of all the 63s, I put Leah as the front runner. I predicted her at a 570.5 kilo total with a 220.5 squat, 120 bench, and a 230 deadlift. So the thing with Leah is that despite her cutting down to 63, she was never a full 69 anyway. She was always a water cut and a gut cut away from 63. So she was always like 66.6, 66.5. So I don't think her numbers are gonna dip that much. And interestingly enough, from her training, it actually seems like her deadlift has dipped more than the other two, than the subtotal, and you'd expect the reverse when you're dropping weight. But perhaps her deadlift will return on the platform, who knows. But yeah, I think she's going to put up a stellar performance if she executes. Again, it's always that caveat, isn't there? But
Yeah. Did you go, Millie?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting with Leah because I don't know if you guys saw her like recent bench as well. Like she did 120, but I just find her training so interesting because like that bench was not paused or anything, and I just think it's really hard to predict what she ever like actually does on a day. And her final pull deadlifts, I think from her last few comps, she's missed, and I think it's about time that she has a really good meet. So I do potentially think that she could pull out in front, but I think it just depends on like how strong she is on the day, like anything. But I think her training is just so interesting to follow. But yeah,
I agree. I think she also mentioned that I think she had her back injury flare up again as well, and she'd been feeling a lot of burnout. I think she's recently moved. Like I think she's like had a breakup and a new relationship. Like she's had a lot going on from what she's been posting. And I think it looks like everything's kind of clicking just in time. Like recently her trainings looked really good again. I also noticed that obviously her bench and stuff wasn't paused. I think she hit a 125 as well, but again, I think it was touch and go. But her best in comp is 125. And like you said, Manny, she was never a full 69. I think she sat like 66-ish. And I think I've seen her post that she's been around 64, 64.5, which I actually think is also lighter than she used to sit when she was a 63 before. So I think she's probably got an easier cut than what she used to do, because obviously the French, they like to do horrible cuts. I've put her down for a 220 squat. I think it'll be a bit off her best. I've put her down for a 120 bench because I think she seems confident with bench, which is obviously a big thing. And then I put her down for a 225 deadlift, which is quite a bit off her best. But because her back's been playing up as well, that's probably the lift that she's going to be the most nervous for, which gives her a 565 total. So it's 20 off of her best total, which she did, I think, last Sheffield. She hit 585 as a 69, and obviously she had an amazing meet last Sheffield. So I think 565 in her first meet back. But I do think it looks like things are clicking for her. So I think by Worlds, I think even if she doesn't win this time, I think there's obviously still going to be a very close battle in the 63s at Worlds.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, like her squat, like obviously we saw, I don't know whether it was, arguably the wrong attempt choice by the French team, but at Worlds when she fell back quite a lot, she missed her second and her third attempt. I think it was on strength as well, wasn't it? She just couldn't do it. But I think they will potentially play it safe with squats because of that. Like I don't know whether, like, I know personally for me, like that would probably knock my confidence a bit. And I think with these kind of meets now, like if you're not having like a good day from the get-go from squats, it throws you off, doesn't it? And you think about it too much. Like these athletes, they're on the line to win so much money, and their head needs to be in the game all day long. Otherwise, I think it can just affect your lifting like more than you think about it. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what she does.
Yeah, and on that as well, to be fair, I think what will actually help her attempt selection, the record is 213 on the squat. So I think she'll take that on her second. So I think she'll actually have to open a bit more conservative because she's not going to want to open on a record. She's probably not going to want to open at 210, which is roughly where I think she'd opened before. I think she'll probably open 205, jump to 213.5, get the record, and then 220 is a fairly safe jump from there. So I think the record actually sets her up to take more sensible attempts potentially, unless, to be fair, at last Sheffield, I think her and Carola both kind of just ignored the record, but then they ended up so far above it that you could see why. So as long as that they don't go for that mindset again, and she kind of accepts that potentially she won't, obviously we don't know how she feels, but she might have lost some strength on her squat since cutting down, even though she's only cut a little bit. And also she hasn't had to do a water cut or a gut cut or anything in over, what is it, Arnold's in, was it 22, 23? So
Yeah, I think
could
that's
affect
like a
her.
real, yeah, it's like a really important thing to bring like her cut up as well, because I can't remember what, I think it was 2022, but she didn't make weight at Worlds, I think it was.
Yeah.
And like I think she could potentially be cutting more weight than she needs to because of like that. And like you can imagine how much, especially if that's, I think that was like one of the last meets she did at 63 before she went 69. And obviously it's kind of like going back to that, and you know, you're going to be anxious, aren't you? So yeah.
Yeah, completely agree. Next up, I think I'm probably not wrong when I say probably the favourite pick for first. We've got Agatha in the under 69s. So she has fluctuated between 76s, even the 84s. She's cutting back to 69 for this one. And actually, she seems lighter going into this year's Sheffield than she was for last year's. I think she is literally sitting like a few 100 grams above 69 at the moment.
Yeah.
Would one of you like to take this one?
Yeah, I can start. So yeah, I think she's literally weighing at 69.8 or something, and she looks like, she just looks strong. Like she always looks strong, but she looks really strong right now. And like every single one of her lifts, the only thing I have doubt with is her bench. Like I think in her last SBD, her ass came like clean off the bench, like no dispute whatsoever. Like that ain't passing. But if she can sort that out, I think she has definitely got a really good chance of winning. Like I know that squats is probably like her worst lift, but like she did 197.5 on her last SBD and it looked smooth. Like for her, I think they can be quite unpredictable, but it would be great to see. I can't remember what her squat best is. I think it might be 205, but I think she can definitely add a bit onto that by the way 197 moved. But I think she'll also be kind of like taking a conservative approach with squats because she's aware that that's her weaker lift. And then with bench, like I think her record right now it's 154. Yeah, in the 69s. But I'd like to see a 160 bench personally. But I always do get worried from that first Sheffield meet that she did in 2022 when she almost bombed out. She had us all like clenching our fists, like worrying like that she was not going to make it, and like somehow she did. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of jumps and openers they do with on bench, and then her deadlift as well. Like I think she's just a strong deadlifter anyway, but at 69, like I think it kind of like breaks the barriers. And I can't remember what she pulled last. I think it was 240 something, but she looked really strong. So I'm excited to see what she does, and I definitely think she could win. Like she is definitely the favorite.
Yeah, I agree. I think she's very much the strong favorite to win. I've predicted her at a 624 kilo total, consisting of a 207.5 kilo squat, a 158.5 kilo bench, and a 258 deadlift. Reason why I've picked those numbers specifically is because this is what is required to pip Evie with her 500 kilo total.
Okay.
So I currently have Evie at 103.95%. I have Agatha with 104% with that 258 deadlift, but literally 0.5 kilos on the deadlift less, so 257.5 will put it down to 103.92. That's how close it is. Like it's ridiculous. Wow. So she literally just needs to pull that 258 to win, and I think she should be able to pull off all three of those lifts, because what she pulled at silent, well not silent, like girl power, she pulled, was it 262.5?
262.
Yeah, 262 on the dot. So to pull a little bit less than that should be all right. I remember I saw a post today. I don't know if you two saw it, from the Sheffield Instagram page, so teasing, oh, will Agatha break 3 world record benches again? I don't think she's going to do that, because that would mean she has to open on 154.5 and take like 2 kilo jumps each time, which is ridiculous. But yeah, I think she will break it once, maybe twice.
Yeah, I kind of mirror a lot of that. I think so. Her best ever squat at the moment is 210, but I think that was at 76. Might have even been as a light 84, to be fair. I'm not sure.
It was, yeah, light 84. That was at Euro Muscle.
Yeah, so her squat is, like you said, like it is 10. Like it's not that it's weak, but it's her weaker lift. I've put her at 212 because her squat does look really good at the moment, and I think, to be fair to her attempt selection on squats is usually quite conservative. Like she will take a 2.5 jump to her third if her second doesn't move well. So that might be a bit of an ambitious idea, but I've put her at 212, and I think she's capable of it with how squats have been moving. I think bench, I've put her at 160 because I think she'll want to chase that round number. I think she'll want to chase that 160. I don't know if she'll get it because of butt lift, but I know she's always struggled with butt lift in training. But she said before, on the platform, it rarely ever happens. It's just in training. I think it's potentially a difference in the bench heights. And I know on the video that she posted the other day, it was clean, like it was completely off. There was no, and she did acknowledge that. But I think her boyfriend was there with her, and he did spot something that caused it that was maybe different in her setup or something. So I don't know on that one. But her benches looked really solid, and she's actually been pausing a lot of them as well, which I think is something she used to slip up on a little bit. And I put her at a 262 deadlift. I don't know if she'll go that high if she doesn't need it. She probably won't, but that would give her a 635 total, which I think she's capable of. Her best so far is 627. And with Agatha, the total does typically just keep going up and up and up. Like, I mean, we all know this. She's just crazy. I think she'll have a clear win, or if she happens to miss a squat or maybe doesn't squat quite so much, I think what you said, Mani, I completely agree. She'll basically load up what she needs to beat Evie.
Yeah,
she'll be one of the last pullers, so she'll have that advantage.
That's true. I see with her being one of the last pullers, I foresee what could potentially happen is she loads up what she needs to beat Evie and ends up missing it, because I remember that 262 from Girl Power wasn't easy. Like it was a fight, and she does seem stronger now, but how much stronger is the question. Like we'll see on the day, but I think it will be close. I think it will be very close.
I think as well, Sheffield is a long meet, and I know Agatha competes all the time. I don't think nerves or anything exist in her world, but Sheffield is a long meet. A lot of these meets she does, they are quick. They're expo meets, they're world championships, they're very fast-paced meets, and Sheffield is such a long day that by the time you get to deadlift, there's no way they're not a bit tired. And I know she's done 2 years in a row, so she knows what to expect, but that could, because I don't think she recently did, I don't know if it was potentially like Polish nationals or something, and she pulled 240. She only totaled 575, but I'm assuming that was just a qualifier or something like that. Wasn't anything important, so I don't know on that one. But yeah, I think it's going to be closer than people expect, to be honest, looking at what I've put for Evie and what, like, she's so consistent. And also, like Evie doesn't talk out loud about how things are going. Like, she'll post her list, but she won't give anything away really. And obviously, she said before, the cut gets easier every year, and I think people sleep on Evie. And I think when people sleep on Evie, she doesn't get fired up by it. I don't think she's that sort of lifter, but it definitely comes into her head. So I think Agatha will win, but I think if she slips up at any point in that meet, she probably won't be able to.
Yeah, I agree. Evie essentially hides in plain sight because she posts everything, but she's so chill that everyone just kind of just glazes over her like, whatever. And then next thing you know, bang, she's won. So
yeah.
Another one. Sorry, carry on.
I was just going to make a point that it's really interesting that you said about 212. Because for a minute I forgot that she was doing this meet as a 69, and I thought she was doing a 76. Just for a minute, I know she's doing a 69. But I was going to say, even if she did it as a 76, that means she would have every single record in the juniors at 76 if she did 212, if she was a 76. But I just checked the 69s. I was like, oh, maybe she'll have all of them. And yeah, if she squats anything above 202, so 205, she will have all the records as a 69, and then almost all of them as a 76 until she squats 212. So that's pretty epic.
That's mad.
I'm also very excited to see Carola Gara. She is also competing under 69s now.
Or is she?
Well,
yeah,
I think she will, because I feel like when I've heard her speak on podcasts before, she's made it quite clear that she does not want to cut anymore because of the fact that it was getting really hard for her to cut. She's gaining this muscle mass. And to be fair, since she's gone up to 69s, I think she's committed to it more than Leah ever did. And she's seen the uptick in her numbers. Like her numbers, even in Sheffield last year, which I think was her first meet as a 69, her squat, for example, had blown up. Like her lifts had gone really well. She's a very big bencher, which obviously bench, unless you're Agatha, responds really well to body weight. So I think she'll go in as a 69, but I think if she doesn't, it will throw a massive spanner in the works.
Yeah.
Would one of you like to kind of take this one?
After you, Millie. Don't mind.
Okay, let's have a look. To be honest, I have not seen much of Carola's training. But I just know that, I agree with all the points that you made, Sean, about her like gaining weight and the fact that she totaled 580 as well, and that's when she had like direct competition for like, you know, everyone at Worlds wanted to win because they got a place at Sheffield, whereas like now at Sheffield she's really just, you know, going to be able to push everything to try and break as many records as possible if she comes in at 69, and then get as close to that total as possible. I'm not sure whether 600 will be there for her. Like I said, I haven't seen much of her training, but I'm interested to know what you guys think.
So yeah, I reckon she's going to come in at around a 593 total. Her squat is looking very strong though, to be fair, from what I've seen in training. So I think she's capable of loading beyond 230, but I think she'll just chip and hit 230.5. Bench, it's an interesting one with her bench because doesn't she have quite a bit of issues with like elbow depth in comp?
Yeah, I think looking at open powerlifting, it's not too bad, but there's been a few misses. Whether they've been on elbow depth or not, I'm not sure. I think at Worlds she did, didn't she? Because Leah missed 2 squats on strength, seemingly, and then Carola, because it was between the two, obviously, and after Leah missed the squats, I think everyone thought it was definitely going to be Carola's, but then Carola missed 2 benches, which then kind of leveled things out a little bit more. And they were on elbow depth, I think. So
So I think she has the strength to press 150, but whether she actually ends up there or not, I don't think so. I think something might end up happening. I don't want to jinx it for her. I don't want to wish her any ill will, but from what I've seen in the past, I think she's probably going to end up on like a 145 bench and then deadlift 217.5, which I think is within her wheelhouse. So that's a 593 total, which actually it's unfortunate because Agatha's inflated that 69 kilo total record so far that it actually lands her quite far down the leaderboard. But it's still an incredible total. Like to be totaling near 600 as a 63 is nuts. So yeah,
I think I kind of agree with you on a lot of that, and I've put her out of 600 total. But again, I've kind of gone for if everyone has the perfect day near enough. I put her at a 230 squat. Her training, she doesn't post tons of training anyway, but what she does post, you can't really tell because most of it is just rep work on rep work on rep work. She did recently compete and do 225 and it looks pretty comfortable. I couldn't find footage of any of her other lifts, so I think she benched 150 at that meet. Let me double check. Oh, she benched 145 at that meet. I haven't seen it. I'm assuming, I think she's the type of lifter, again, you don't really get to know. I don't think she speaks a ton of English, so even on podcasts and stuff, you don't really get to know her in the same way you do other lifters. But I think she'll go for the 150. I think she'll want to hit 600. I think she's probably aware that Agatha's kind of ruined her day, but I think she'll want to prove a point and get to that 600. And actually, at Sheffield last year, she hit, what did she hit? 582.5. And that was missing her third pull, which was a bit of a Hail Mary. It was a 12.5 jump to try and get ahead and hopefully push Agatha. So she probably had more room there, and that's a whole year later. I think a 150 bench, providing elbow depth, obviously goes her way, which, to be honest, reffing at Sheffield versus reffing at Worlds is typically a bit more lenient on that sort of thing. I think Worlds is a bit more ridiculously strict. And then deadlift, I put her at 220, which is 5 above her best so far, which gives her 600. I'd like to see her hit 600 because I think being at the second 69 to hit 600 is a massive thing as well. Like when Agatha did it, it was not that no one else was going to do it, but it looked like it was going to take a long time for anyone to get close. And if Carola can get that close already, and I think she's still quite light. She's still only weighing about 67.9 in her last meet. So she's got room. I think it's going to be unfortunate with placing because, again, Agatha put the record up so high last year. But I think hitting 600 would be a massive milestone anyway. And kind of prove that she's on the way, because Agatha's not going to stay there forever. She's made it very clear.
Yeah, I think I can't remember whose podcast I listened to, but this is definitely Agatha's last meet at 69. And I think she's potentially doing Worlds at 76 and then Sheffield at 76 and then World Games at 76 and then next year's 84, I think, something like that. I just know that this is definitely the last 69 meet. So she'll definitely be wanting to be like, okay, look, Agatha might be going out, but I can total this now. And I think as well, like even though her placing might not be as good, she'll definitely have a go at the squat record and then take home like a little bit of prize money as well, which will be good.
Yeah.
See, it's interesting you said that about Agatha, because I feel like she says different on every podcast she's on.
Ah,
Because I heard that she wanted to do, because she's got a world championship at 76. I heard that she wanted to get one at 69, so she was going to do worlds this year at 69. And then on, I think it was the future of powerlifting, they were ranking all the powerlifters, and there was a part where apparently Agatha has said at World Games she wants to be the first like heavier woman to hit a 10 times body weight total, and her goal is to do essentially weigh in super light in the 69s, like 65, and hit 650. If that's doable, I don't know, but I'm not going to.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
But she might change her mind, because she said last year cutting to 69, although she still gets to eat quite a lot of calories and stuff, it's very strict. She doesn't really enjoy it. She doesn't need to do it, so she might quickly change her mind and go back.
She will change her mind.
Yeah.
You will change her mind every 5 minutes, like she has done for the last couple of years. Mate, she's crazy.
Either way, though, Corolla will be the queen of the 69s soon. Like, she just needs to stay in her lane and just keep chipping away, which obviously she's doing. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, she did bench 150 last year, to be fair to her, at Sheffield. The only thing that's going against her now is the fact that she doesn't have the chip to her advantage, so she can't make the same sort of incremental jumps between attempts. But if she's stronger, then that won't matter. So,
yeah, I think she'll definitely want the squat record, won't she? Because I think that's the only one that's kind of definitely within reach. Bench she'll probably try for, but I mean, on my placing, obviously these I could be completely off with my predictions, but I don't have her plate. I mean, I have her plate ranked 11th on my list, which would be, I'm pretty sure 11th is no prize money.
Yeah,
so she might rank. She might hit higher than that, obviously, but the prize money, I think, after 5th or 6th isn't tons anyway. So she's probably going to want to just rank it up from world records, which means I think she'll definitely go for the chip on squat and then potentially load up on bench and just see. But I don't know. I don't know what sort of game plan she usually has, how aggressive she'd want to be, anything like that. Next up, we've got Carlina in the 76s. She's the only 76 this year. And this is really bad of me. Until I was looking at all the lifters doing this the other day, I forgot she was doing Sheffield. And that's really bad of me to have forgotten that. But when I realised, because her trainings looked really good, so then when I saw her on the list, I was like, this is actually really exciting. Did one of you want to take this one, or do you want me to?
You start.
Okay. So world record squat in the 76s is 230.5, which is hers, and I think she hit a 220 double the other day, and it was strong. Like, she said that she has such a fast descent on squats, which I think is what throws her off sometimes, and she said it wasn't feeling quite as natural, but it looked like it was getting there. And to be honest, that's the best I think I've ever seen her squat in her videos, and that looked comfortable. I've put her at a 233 squat only because I think it was the first Sheffield. She just kind of went for it, and she didn't even care about just slightly chipping. She just loaded what she thought was there. And I think she just missed that one on depth that year. So I can imagine her going quite aggressive and loading up like a few kilos more than the record. Obviously, if she's being sensible, she'll just go 231. But she also might load that on her second. You never really know with her. Like, she is an aggressive lifter. And it would be really good to see her obviously just load up. The bench record is 155.5 by Agatha, obviously. So I don't think she's going to go for that, but her bench has been looking really good. Like, I think she used to have shoulder issues, and over the last year or so, it's just been climbing. Her best in comp so far is 130.5, but it's looking strong in comp. I can't remember what she hit recently. She hit a comfortable 129 in December. I think it was slightly paused, and I've put her down at 132.5 because I think she does typically taper quite well, and I think she does normally show up on meet day. Like, I think that's doable for her. And then deadlift, I actually think she's quite likely to load up for the record on her third, because the record is 261.5, and I don't know if that's her record. It might be
Jess Bittner's.
It's Jess's record, but I think she maybe tried to break it before and just missed on grip. But I think she'll want to load 262. I think she'll miss it, and I think she'll probably go 250 to 255 on her second. I've put 255 as her made lift, which gives her a 620.5 total, which is a 10 kilo total PB, which, I mean, it's a huge total. Anything in the six, like, it was only 2 years ago, 600 at 76, she broke it for the first time, and we were all like amazed by it. And Obviously, Agatha's just come along and kind of made everyone just almost forget that. But I think 620-ish for Carlina is definitely doable, and I think she's due a really good meet, and she hasn't got head-to-head competition, so I think this could be it.
Millie, do you want to go?
Yeah.
It's your weight. It's your weight. I was waiting for you to go because it's your weight class. So I thought.
For real. Yeah, no, I saw her squat double as well, and like I have to say, like it looks so much tidier. Like you can just tell that descent is controlled like so much better. And I think as well, like personally, I think she's going to be one of the lifters that probably places like lower on the leaderboard, and I think then those records like matter even more. So I think she'll definitely be squatting above 230, probably like just the chip, like I think it's 231, wouldn't it be, for the record? Yeah, that's wild. And then bench, I think she will hopefully bench over 130 as well. I know that she did like a meet, I think it was it September, like, and she did 130 there. I know she did it as an 84, but I definitely think she's been like consistently like hitting that now, so be good to see her hit that. And then deadlift as well, that's been looking really strong. Like I think she put up a 252 single, and like that, I think her best comp deadlift is 252 as well. So I don't know, 255 is but yeah, I think we could definitely see her like pull a deadlift PB as well, which would be nice. But I think like this is the thing, Agatha's kind of tanked the records. I'd like to see her up the record, but I'm also not sure. I think she's one of those lifters that's likely to go up in the near future. I don't know how much longer she's going to be a 76. So it'll be interesting to see, hopefully, if she can add to that a little bit before she exits the weight class.
Nice. I've been a bit more pessimistic with Carlina. I'll start with that because I've got some slightly lower numbers here. So I've got her down for a 611 kilo total, so just under the world record. 231 squat. I think she'll have a good squat day. She's due one for some redemption from from Worlds. Worlds was like quite a poor day for her squat, but she's a good squatter, so I don't doubt that she'll take the record. Bench, I think she'll bench 130. She benched 130.5 at New Zealand Nationals, but missed 132.5 at Worlds. I know her bench is looking stronger, but I just feel like, I feel like 130. I feel like 130 is probably the safer call for her. And then deadlift, I could be proven wrong here again, but her deadlift hasn't looked as snappy as it has done in the past to me from what I've seen in training. So I put her down for 250, similar to what you said, Sean. I could see her loading up for the record and getting close, but landing on what she loaded up for a second instead. So that's what I've gone for, and that puts her at 10th in my leaderboard.
Yeah, I think next weight class, I'd like to take this one because it's my weight class, is Amanda Lawrence, under 84s. There's been a lot of talk recently, which makes me really excited for this comp, because Amanda, I'm a massive fan of Amanda. Like, she's shown what's possible for years. Like, she's someone that I've looked up to literally since I started, but she has stagnated for years. And it's something that I noticed a couple of years ago. I was getting less interested in watching her compete because her numbers she would chip records here and there, but her total would stay pretty much the same. But she is a lifter that gets very fired up, and I think competition brings her to life. So I think hearing the talk of it, because I've even said, I wrote before, like, if Amanda stalls for much longer, I think Agatha could out total her as a 76. Like, I think Amanda needs to really get something moving on her total. And actually on I think it was the Future Powerlifting podcast again, Big Body, which is Joey Flex's brother, was on there, who Joey is her coach. And they were talking about Amanda stalling, and he had said that changes have been made and they know what the issue is. I think from what was said on the podcast, she essentially has just been almost pushing too hard in training. She's going too heavy in earlier weeks of the block, and it's making her training suffer, which I can imagine she is the sort of lifter that would do that, because she is obviously so confident in herself. So I'm really excited, and I think this could, because she always performs at Sheffield. Like, she always does well at Sheffield. Obviously, ratings wise and rankings, she doesn't, because she's fighting her own record year on year, which she pushes her record at Worlds. She could easily hold back at Worlds, but she doesn't. So on the squat, the world record at the moment is 249.5, and her best ever squat in comp is actually 256. I think that might have been at a local meet. I don't think that was or it might have even been a nationals. I've put her at a 250 squat. Amanda typically at high like Sheffield or Worlds, looking at open powerlifting, she takes the world record on her second, and she tries to just take a small jump to boost it a bit more on her third. Like that typically is what she does. But I think the record is quite high now for her to keep doing that. I feel like a 250 squat. Bench press is where I think she'll add the most kilos because her bench has been going really well. Her bench stalled for years. The world record is 156, which is also Agata's. Her best is 135, but I think she doubled that recently. In training, she doesn't really pause her bench too much. She got a little bit of a sink, and I think as a ref, I wouldn't give her the press command quite when she presses. But I think she'll be good for about 140. I think that's what she'll want to aim for. And then deadlift, I think she'll just chip the record. The record at the moment is 268.5. I think she'll load up 269. It's just whether she can lock it out. If she does, that's a 659 total. Her current best total, which is obviously the world record, is 647. So that would be a 12 increase on the world record, which for her would be huge because she's just been adding like a kilo at a time at most recently. The thing is as well that I think will play to her advantage. So last year's Sheffield, I remember seeing that she weighed 89 kilos before her cut. She's been maintaining about 84 since then because she realized how much of an issue that was. And I know she said in the past, whenever she cuts, she's one of those lifters that essentially can't feel their legs on squats. And obviously her squat is such an important lift for her. So I think she's been sitting a lot closer to the weight class as well. So I think that'll be an advantage. So I think providing this talk and everything has made her more competitive and sensible rather than loading up and being silly. I think we could see a big total increase from her.
Yeah, I'd echo a lot of those sentiments, Sean. I think I given her the same lifts as you, except for bench. I've put her down as 137.5. I think she did bench 140 in training recently, to be fair. But like you said, with the sync, she's going to do a longer press command. She's going to have to cut a little bit as well. I know she's sitting closer to weight, but the cut and the travel, I think 250, 137.5 and 269 are pretty on brand for what she should be able to do. But what I would say though is that it might be quite likely that she misses that last deadlift. So she might end up landing on what she loads for a second. But even with those, I think that's quite generous from me to give her a 6.5 kilo total. That landed at 8th on my predictions. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see where she actually ends up because she does look strong. She just needs that extra boost and some momentum. And I think once she has that, then she's gonna take that record into the 660, 670. So yeah.
So well, I'm a big fan of Amanda as well. Like, I think the reason I like her so much is because I think this is like something similar to what Ben Pay put up the other day about like kind of turning up to every meet, sometimes not even getting like a 2.5 PB on total. And like, she's just so persistent, so committed. And like, especially because she's such a competitive person. Like, I'm sure you guys have listened to her on like podcasts, like she loves competition, but she hasn't got any, and she still like carries on. And I think this is why she pushed herself at Worlds and everything, because like she wanted to be the best lifter. Like, she's so competitive. And yeah, I think she's brilliant for that. I do think, however, though, that she might carry on with this whole, okay, let's take the squat record in your second and then boost a little bit more on her third, because like you said, she is sitting a little bit closer to the weight class, and she did a 250 single the other day and it did look really strong. Like, she is quite a slow squatter, but I thought that it looked consistent. I know that she's got guts, and I think she knows that if she's got 250 on her second and it moves well, she will take that confidence into her third, and I think that would be really good. I agree with you, Mani, on terms of bench, that I think she'll probably do 137.5. Like, I think definitely like sitting closer to the weight class has helped, but like you said, it'll be that what the press command's like on the day, and how she's feeling after squats as well. Like, because if she does like an RPE 13 last attempt, like your arms are going to be tired. And then yeah, deadlift as well. Like, I think the last 3 meets she's done, she's not got her third attempt. And I think as well, like because of like how much she pushes her total, she's likely to end up at the bottom of the leaderboard. So I think that last pull will be just very tactical, just to see where they can put her in terms of like the placings to get like a bit of prize money. But I'd love to see her pull 270. But I think it's the case with Amanda. She will always just take the chip because she just wants to do better every time. And I just think she's just awesome for doing stuff like that and not going too crazy, and just as long as I'm better each time, it's cool.
Yeah, definitely. So now we've got two more lifters on the women's side. We've got the 120 plus lifters. I think we start with Brittany. She recently posted that she's been struggling with burnout. Brittany is probably my favorite lifter in terms of just personality and how honest she is with stuff as well. And she's very real with everything. Like, she is very honest when she struggles with burnout and stuff like that. And obviously she is a fantastic lifter. One thing I don't like about Brittany is you can never tell how anything is going from what she posts, because the way she trains, she doesn't go close to max in training. Like, we'll talk about Sunita in a second, but obviously Sunita will max out her squat in training and she'll post it everywhere. I don't think Brittany even gets close to comp numbers in training. I think it's one of those things where she literally just saves it for the day every time. So she's very hard to read. I'll go in with my predictions and obviously you guys can say what you think, but I don't expect much of an increase for Brittany this time. I would love to be wrong with that. Like, she's a lifter that I want to see do as well as possible. But I think Sunita's put the squat world record up to 311. I think Brittany's best squat is 285. She'll probably match that. She might go a little bit above, but I don't think she'll get in the 290 plus, I don't think. Bench, the world record is 167, which I think was Alexis Jones at Worlds. Brittany's best bench is 157. I put her down as a 157 bench. Again, she might go a little bit above. She might do 160, but I'll put her at 157. And then deadlift, she did, I can't remember what comp it was. It might have been Canadian. Did she unofficially break the world record at Canadian Nationals, I think? Because her best deadlift is 273.5 and the world record is 273. So I think she's going there for the deadlift record. And I think she'll pull 273.5, possibly up to 275. And that would give her, a 716 total if she gets the 273.5, which, to be honest, if she's been struggling so much in training, walking away with that deadlift world record would be huge. So
yeah. Brittany's a very interesting one because on my table for hit list, she's top. So she's averaging 8.15 out of 9 attempts out of all of her competitions. So she's very consistent. And I think that, coupled with the fact that she gets a lot out of her taper and she doesn't actually train close to maximal loads in training, makes it even more impressive because you have less of an idea of what you're actually capable of, and your coaches do as well. So for her to be that consistent and execute that well is incredible. But saying that, I have her down with a 718.5 kilo total, so 285 squat, 160 bench, and a 273.5 kilo deadlift. So essentially just equaling her best squats and deadlifts in comp. Putting the deadlift on an international platform and making it a world record, and then besting her best bench by 2.5 kilos. Even with all of that, because Sunita inflated that record for no reason at Worlds other than to obviously become best lifter, it still puts her at bottom of the leaderboard, despite her almost totaling the same as me, a 120 kilo man. That's mental. Wow.
Yeah, I think, like you said, like this is probably one of the most like unpredictable lifters, like in terms of like what they're actually capable of on the day. And obviously, it's been a little while since. Well, obviously she did Canadian Nationals, but that wasn't like a competitive meet for her. So I think as well with like her squat, like it'll either be like you said, Sean, like the same or like a little bit more. And then with her bench, I think this is where she's like really gonna try and push it. Like I wouldn't be surprised if we even see like a little bit above 160, because it's where I think it all just depends as well, like how Sunita's squats go and things. Like it's Sheffield. I feel like with a lot of these like close battle attempts, like even though that it's the percentage over the world record, I think people are still keeping very, very close eyes on their competitors. And I think I reckon some of the coaches even have like separate spreadsheets for like the different lifters' attempts. And like there's probably like Joey Flex with like 8 different spreadsheets just for like one lifter. Like I think it's just mental. And then, I would love to see her take the deadlift record because, she's such an inspirational lifter as well. And but I do think Sunita will probably come out on top. But I still think that she'll have a really good day.
Yeah, definitely. She's definitely the lifter. I think her and Jad, I want to see have the best days possible. And they've been probably the most quiet, obviously, with their training. So it'll be really interesting to see what they do. And I think I put Brittany at 7:16 total and her best is 7:10. Like, I have no doubt really that she'll hit some sort of PB across the board because she's just so consistent and she does just keep progressing. But it also depends how she's been feeling mentally, I guess, as well. Like, if she has been feeling that burnt out, maybe she's just not pushed at all. Because I think she's a lifter that she can get in her head a lot from what I've seen her post online. Like, when it comes to lifting heavy and stuff, she has a lot of self-doubt. So that could obviously come into play with how much she wants to be aggressive with attempt selection. But we'll just see. And then last lifter to talk through on the women's side before we just go through our picks for top three is Sunita. Did one of you want to start this one?
Yeah, I'll go first. So Sunita, oh my god, where do we start? Do we start with that 700-pound squat in training, which moved like butter? Yeah, that was nuts. That was crazy. I think she's going to do an absolute madness. I think she's due to total anywhere around 745 to 755, depending on attempt selection. So I've got her down for 749. So 320 squat, which is it's just insane to even hear myself saying that. Like, 320 squat, 155 bench, and a 274 deadlift. So I reckon she'll take both the squat and deadlift records, and then obviously the total record as well. Because the bench record for the women is 167.5, I believe. So bit of a way off.
167. Yeah.
Or 167, 167. Yeah, a bit of a way off that, but she should be able to play ping pong with Brittany on that deadlift record, I reckon, and end up just chipping her out, I reckon. That's what I've got for Sunita.
That's really interesting because, again, we're literally a kilo apart on our totals. I've got her at 748. Slightly different numbers though. So her 700-pound squat, like, I know that she'll want to tick off 700 pounds in competition because, I mean, anything she squats is ridiculous. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if all three of her attempts are 300 plus at this point. Like, at Worlds, two of them where I can see more. I've actually put her at 323. I'm assuming it was because of the fact that when I watched her squat in training, it was pretty quick. Like, she's not she can grind if she has to, but I don't think she's the sort of lifter that wants to obviously grind her third out too much, especially because she has still got a big deadlift. I put her at 323 on squat. I put her at 155 on bench. Her best at the minute is 152, so just a little bit of an increase there, which is hard to tell with her bench because she doesn't post tons of it. And I think the heaviest bench I saw her post was like a 140 single, which obviously I can't read anything off that. And then deadlift, I put her at 270. My logic on that was basically just thinking that Brittany's probably Brittany's almost guaranteed to get that record if she's having a decent day. And I think Sunita probably knows that. And I can imagine Sunita just focusing on overall placing or even just obviously pushing that world record even further. So I think she'll probably go roughly 270, but I wouldn't be surprised if she loads more. But I think her deadlift is also less reliable. Like, her lockout gets a bit stickier. So I don't know if she'll even make that third deadlift. So I've put her at 748, which she hit 731 at Worlds. And that was like, people couldn't believe that. So for her to be near 750 potentially, or even in 70, like, she might even be in the 750s. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, that is, she's out totaling a lot of men, like, in that class. I swear. Like, she's
out totaling me by, she already out totals me by what? What's her best total? 731?
731.
Yeah, she out totals me by 3.5 kilos. So she's going to extend that by what? Another 20 almost. I'm always trying to like beat her when I do my next comp. Oh, I got to beat Sunita's total again.
I think Austin Perkins, I was watching some of his YouTube videos to see if I could get any info for Sheffield, like for the preview show. And I think it was Austin Perkins. Oh, no, it wasn't. It was Two White Lights. I was listening to Two White Lights, and Angelo was saying it was a running joke in their training that he needs to out squat Sunita or hit 700 pounds before Sunita. And I think he was on his like week before his heavy week, and then she posted 700 pounds, and it was like Sunita squatted 700 pounds before Angelo, who's one of the best 83s. She out squatted Durins at Worlds. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
She might outsquat him again. Maybe.
I think she probably will. I think I've
Tonight.
predicted her to.
Yeah,
I don't think I
yeah,
predicted her to, but who knows what will happen.
yeah. No, I think Sunita Scott's on the day are going to be scary. Like, I remember listening to a podcast and I can't remember the exact story, but Sheffield last year, I think it was something along the lines with Joe was going to load 297.5 and she was like, no, I have 300. So she's confident. And yeah, I think potentially like within the range that you guys said, like that 320s, 325, like, oh, 325 would be madness. Like just seeing that, like I remember like last year, like just I don't even think I even watched the squat. Like, I was just jumping up and down, like because it was just unreal that she was doing that amount of weight on her back. Just crazy. But yeah, she definitely pushed her squat, and then I think she'll play quite conservative with her bench. But I still think like she's kind of cracked her bench now. The strength is growing, but slowly. So it'd be good to see her like unlock the yellow plate on bench 155, and then deadlift. Yeah, I think it'll come down to like those percentages, and I think she's going to be a podium favorite. And yeah, I reckon around the 740, 750 mark altogether.
Am I right in thinking as well at Sheffield last year when she hit that 300, I think 290 was her second and it wasn't quick? Because I remember watching it being like, she's gone up 10, and I was like watching it, I was nervous because I knew she'd done it in training, but her 290 wouldn't have convinced me, which is, like I think that's when Joey obviously said 297 and then she was adamant that she was loading 300. Like, but it's that self-belief, isn't it? Like, I think she's one of the most like mentally tough lifters. Like if you hear her talk, like she just does it. She doesn't let it like scare her, I guess, does she?
Absolutely, yeah. Last year Sheffield, that's when she was wearing 2 different size knee sleeves, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's probably why her squats weren't feeling quite on point. And then at Worlds, she became injured. So now she'll have the right size knee sleeves and be healthy. Who knows what she's squatting?
Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm excited for women's and men's, but when I was putting my predictions in for the women's, I was like, this is really close. So on the women's side, we've also got Bobby Butters as a reserve at the time of filming this. She's still a reserve. She's in the under 57s if she does compete. She did recently compete at British Open as well and put up an amazing performance. I don't know if one of you guys wanted to start about where you think she could be if she does happen to lift.
I can start if you want. So yeah, Bobby at British. I think she weighed in quite light as well. She weighed in at 55.9, and she actually loaded up the unofficial like world record on squat. And I don't know if you guys saw it, but it was easy. Like it was comfortable. But one thing I know about Bobby is that I don't think she always seems quite reserved with squats. Like even though she's got such a strong lift, and I think that if she was to go to Sheffield, she would just end up like chipping it. I think she could like she's got the strength to do a lot more, but I can't see her if she gets the spot putting up any more than like 188.5, 190, depending if Jad's also battling for it. I think if she bench is also kind of like similar to her squat, like it always just looks so strong. I think her like comp best is 113. So it'd be cool to see her like load the blue plate. I know that she's just taking off with training at the moment. So and then deadlift. I know that she tried 200 at British. So imagine if she were to compete, she'd maybe have another go at that again. But I think with those numbers that I said, she would only need 195 or 197 for 500. So I think it just depends on like placings and stuff. But yeah, if she does get a spot, it would be sick to see her lift because she's like definitely a bit of like a crowd favourite in Britain.
Personally, I think Bobby would respond really well to the crowd at Sheffield. Just the level of height that she brings to the platform, I think she'd absolutely thrive off that. I think she'd also have a bit of a back and forth with Jad for the squat world record. I put her down as a 190 squat to finish as a prediction, 112.5 kilo bench, just because she won't have the luxury of a chip at an international comp. And then I think she probably want a 500 kilo total more than she would a 200 kilo deadlift. So 197.5 to give her a nice round 500 kilo total. And yeah, have her down. Got her hit rate up as well. She's actually averaging 8.08 attempts out of 9. So the numbers I've picked for her, I'm pretty confident she'd be able to hit if she were able to lift at Sheffield. I think she'd do really well.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of in the same ballpark there. I think the squat record would definitely be hers. It just depends if Shad also goes for it. I think Bobby's got a better chance of hitting it and going a little bit above it as well. Like you said, Millie, her 188.5 at British was very comfortable. Like Bobby would have had probably 190 plus, but I don't think she'll load it at Sheffield if she doesn't need to. I do think just because of where the record is against her total, she's probably not very likely to place in the top 10. So I think if she does compete, she'll probably just go for that squat record. I think that'll be the main goal of the day. And then she's also been saying about the 500 total for a while now. I think roughly a 115 bench. And then I think I said the same as you guys here, like 197.5 deadlift. Her 192 or 190 at British that she hit was comfortable. That 10 kilo jump was definitely justified. It just wasn't quite there on the day. So I think roughly 197 with a 115 bench, 188.5 deadlift, that would give her 501, which I think would be a massive milestone for her. And I just think a really good achievement. Like her trainings look really good over the past year or so. Like she's definitely built up a lot of momentum. Her deadlift's on the up. I think it'd be amazing to see her lift at Sheffield. I don't want any of the other women to drop out, but Bobby at Sheffield with the British crowd with her level of hype would be insane.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, definitely.
Did we want to do our picks for top three? We've kind of said them already, but we'll just secure them in. Manny, did you want to go first?
Yeah.
You've done the most research here.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
should I start with third and then go work my way up?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in third
Okay.
place, I have Sunita with 102.46%. And then second place, Evie with 103.95%. And then no surprises here, Agatha in first place with 104% exactly. World record.
Wow.
I also have some corresponding GL points of that if you're interested, but
Go for it. Yeah.
yeah, so this is assuming they're at the top of their weight class, by the way, which they might not be, and it's also assuming that Sunita weighs 130 kilos, which I'd imagine she and roughly come in at because her body weight's been trending upwards. So Sunita would probably hit like a 126.85 GL with that, Evie 126.25, and then Agatha 129.28. So borderline 130 GL, and I reckon with the total that you predicted, Urshan, then that is definitely 130 GL. It's nuts.
I can also imagine her just wanting the 130 GL, so she's going to load for it. And I know you said earlier about she will probably play it to whoever, like let's say Evie, she'll load what she needs to place above Evie. But I have a feeling she won't. I have a feeling she'll just be so focused in her own bubble that she'll just load up what she's convinced she has, which lately she's been making the right calls, but that could obviously bite her and then the placements would change. So I have got Meg Scanlon in third, which I didn't even realise until I'd put all my predictions in for every single person, put them in order. And actually, when I did that, I was like, that would actually be, I really want that to happen. Like, I don't think anyone's really thinking about her for placing. I think because she's not beaten Leah yet, like she won World in 2022, that was her first World Championship. Leah didn't make weight. And I think she's even said before, like, like, it's a bit of a bittersweet one, isn't it? Like, the guaranteed favourite doesn't show up. Meg came in and she obviously won, and it was a really good battle that she won. I think it might have been on bodyweight that she won. Like, she absolutely deserved that title. And then last year, I think Carola won before she moved up. And then obviously this year, Meg won. And Meg won by fairly comfortably. Like, if she'd have missed lifts, then it wouldn't have been comfortable. But she was pretty comfortably in first at Worlds this year. So no one really has been talking about her, I don't think, now that Leah's announced she's coming back down. I think they've just kind of assumed it's going to be the Leah show again. So to have Meg in third, which I gave her 102.78%, that would be insane. Second place, which I could easily be swayed to putting her in first place, was Evie with 104.16, and then Agatha 105.83%. I was quite generous with all of my predictions for everyone, but we're unless something goes wrong, we've probably got a repeat champion with Agatha or Evie, which would be crazy.
Yeah.
So I've obviously not got all the percentages because I haven't been as organised with my time as you both this week. But I think in third place, I think it will be Evie. And then in second place, I think Sunita. And then first place, Agatha, unless her bum like completely comes off the bench, then she will not be first.
Yeah.
What I also thought was interesting on mine, I won't obviously go through the whole list, but actually with the percentages, I've got Tiffany in fourth, which I wouldn't expect her to be that high up on the list just because she always pushes and pushes and pushes. And she's been very much in the same boat as Amanda over the last few years of she's just fighting a losing battle against her own world records. But I think that would be really cool. But I could be swayed for any of your predictions, to be honest, on that one.
Yeah.
Anything else any of you want to shout out before we wrap up the women's preview?
I just wanted to call out one thing with my predictions. I could be swayed from anywhere from third to seventh because I've only got 0.42% between third and seventh. So seventh place I've got 102.02%, and then third place I've got 102.46%. So third is Sunita, then Leah, then Tiff, then Meg, then Jad. So it's literally like it could be anyone. So it's gonna be crazy.
Mine is very close to that as well, to be fair. I think it's all within about 1% of each other from third down to ninth. Like or to eighth, sorry. It's very close. So, and I think that's why this year's is going to be really, like, they're going to have to execute for this one. All right. Well, if you've made it to the end, thank you very much. We'll be back next week for the men's preview show.